Hey, what's up? This is Jeremy, founder of QuickMail.io.
And this is Omar with ZenMaid, and we are coming to you live from, well, not live, whenever you're watching the recording.
But before that, you have to enter your credit card to carry on watching.
Yeah, enter your credit card details here, and you can trial our software.
It's just a trial of a podcast. Just enter your credit card. So, yeah, what are we going to talk today, Amar?
Today we're going to talk about credit card requirements for trials and free plans and all that stuff, just kind of how you want to design that kind of initial user experience for everyone. You can hear about, what Jeremy and I do and why with our respective companies. And
But hold on, you said free trials is like, why would you require a credit card for a free trial? It's free.
yeah, exactly. You get that a lot. That is the first lesson of today's podcast. If you choose to require a credit card for a free trial, you will get asked a lot, why does it require a credit card? I thought you said that it's free. And I keep having to fight back the urge to send back screenshots of what free means. Like, requiring a credit card does not mean that something is not free. Anyways, Jeremy, before I go off any further on that, what are your thoughts on this entire thing?
So we used to have at QuickMail a non-credit card wall, which basically means you can create an account, go in and then try it. Which is, I think it's pretty helpful at the very beginning when you don't have, market fit and you're trying to figure out what's your audience and you want a maximum number of feedback and you don't have that many trials. Great move, make it free, make it no credit card required, and all you need really is feedback. And that's pretty much, when you're going to be paid with, not money, but just feedback at the beginning, potentially.
Can I bring up one exception there?
Yeah, sure. Bring it on.
We went back and forth about this when we were early on at ZenMaid. And so we went through different cycles that sometimes if your product isn't far enough along, you actually don't want people getting in with no friction because they'll immediately leave and won't give you feedback. So we actually found at some point that requiring the credit card and making it more difficult for people to get in meant that they had to go through like more hurdles and to use the software more seriously. But then there were a lot of times throughout ZenMaid's history that we changed it to no credit card required for exactly the reasons that Jeremy just mentioned for being an early founder and needing that early feedback.
Well, that's an interesting one. The adding friction with adding the credit card, because I do think that this is one of the benefits of adding the credit card is that people are more serious about actually trying your software, right? There are plenty of really good things as to why you would want a credit card, first. That's my view. What would you say?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing here for founders to just like to realize is that both are okay and both like are used for their own reasons. So I definitely prefer having the credit card requirement. I don't like having my team chase people that signed up once and then didn't even like come back to the software once, or for ZenMaid specifically, what we saw a lot of the time was because it's grown into a quite complicated software and one that takes time to learn. It's easy to use, but there is a training period. And we found that too many folks, when we didn't require the credit card, just wouldn't have the patience for that they would sign in and they would be like, oh, I couldn't figure out how to run payroll. And it's like, well, that's because you have no employees. That's because you have no appointments in there. Like, how are we supposed to run payroll for you with no information, right? And so for us, that was like a really really big thing, and that's why we decided to keep it that way now. And I think, Jeremy, you and I were talking before we started recording. For us, that's a non-negotiable now. But like I'd alluded to, we've done no credit card required multiple times in the past, and oftentimes with very good effect.
Yeah, I did switch, from non-credit card required to credit card required. I don't think we will come back to no credit cards unless, the whole market is against us and everything's moved and so on. Of course, never say never, never insult the future, as my friend says. Mm-hmm. But I think it provided us with so many benefits that I don't want to go back. So here are a few of the benefits that I found, putting the credit card wall. The first thing, one of the first reasons why we put it is not to try to, trick people or get no friction at time of payment and stuff like that. It's simply because of abuses, right? You may not have much abuse on your system, Amar, but for O1, which is an automating platform to send cold email, then of course you have abuse. So we had like teams of Indian people, and they were Indian, actually, I did track their IP, but there were teams of Indian people who actually created a lot of accounts and then just, send emails from fake email address. And then they create another account, they start again. They were like just interested in blasting, which is kind of silly, honestly, but because it required a lot of like manual work, intensive work to actually do all those things, but they still went ahead and then do it. So adding the credit cards, stops right away, like 98% of all the abuse we've seen on our system. Now we do see sometimes there is, I don't know, we call them Geek Squad. Now Geek Squad is, I think I think it's Best Buy. They have like a branch to actually help you, fix your computer and so on. And so we did see like, Geek Squad signing up, and it was like, oh, that's pretty cool. That's a big thing. But in fact, it was just people trying to impersonate Geek Squad and then send to everyone saying you have to fund back this number because your computer, whatever kind of thing. And so the problem as well is it leads to also chargeback, because they go ahead, they buy the system, and then it leads to chargeback. So we do have still that abuse. We put some fraud detection in place on stuff like that, so we get notified very quickly early on. But so it doesn't stop every abuse, but it does stop like most of it on one end. That's the biggest benefit we have.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for us, it definitely reduced some of the spam, although it's not as serious like for us, because we also have it that our customers can't upload their own customers from a CSV. And that's because early on in the company, people would do it and would screw it up so much that at some point we just took away the functionality and we're just like, you send it to us, we format it, we make sure that it all goes in there. So now
that's funny.
Yeah, we did have someone that I think tried to do that. They tried to upload a bunch of stuff and then to use our system to send out all the automated like texts for free or whatever. And it was very obvious, very quickly. So that wasn't it wasn't like a huge deal. But that's probably one of the limitations you didn't know about ZenMaid. And a lot of people would argue that's a horrible customer experience. Why do they have to contact you? And it's like, it's a straight business decision. It's a hell of a lot to do right the first time than to clean up their mess every time. So
that might be a topic for another cast.
yeah, probably. So
another advantage that I found as well is people who enter the credit card are usually more committed. So basically, when you enter your credit card, you really want it to work. Otherwise, you wouldn't enter your credit card, right? It's not like if you're entering your credit cards on every website, right and left. So when someone enters their credit card, I'm from the idea that this person should convert. And if it doesn't convert, then there's a problem on no end. It's not really, them. Unless effectively they're, checking all the different platforms and entering their credit card on all the different platforms, then in this case, it makes sense. But most of the time, this is how we treat it. Where before we had that credit card wall, you didn't quite know, if that person was really committed or not. And
it got rid of a lot of the tire kickers.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Yeah. And for us, our team reaches out to every single person who signs up, which is pretty standard for a lot of bigger companies, but we've done that for a very, very long time. That I personally would reach out to every single sign up, pretty much from I remember it started, right? And so with that, at some point, I think the first time that we put in the credit card requirement, the first time that we did that, it was because I couldn't keep up with the calls anymore. And we didn't have the money to hire someone like at the time. So we put in the credit card requirement, which immediately cut our trials, by, like probably half, maybe like 2/3. And it immediately allowed me to focus. And so that's like one big reason that we won't bring it back now, is because I also know that my team hates chasing when it's folks that haven't committed to the point they've put in like their credit card, that it changes the dynamic of every single conversation, right? So
Plus, you got some people you will never convert. Like I remember, so I put like a little campaign in place that if you go ahead, create your account, but don't enter your credit card, then we send you a sort of like email saying like, hey, I noticed you created an account, but you didn't sign up. And I forgot to mention you because we were talking about that before the episode starts. Is one of the answer that I got like, oh, I only have like PayPal. I can't pay with something else. Like, that's fine. You just don't accept PayPal. So you wouldn't have been able to even pay for the software. So it's like, or some people don't have access to credit card and stuff like that. So it's like, why would you let them, try a software they can't purchase anyway? Right. So it's sort of like a filtering beforehand.
Yeah, it's definitely a filtering thing, because I've also found that when people get really uppity about the fact that we require a credit card, that's usually a red flag as well. I mean, sometimes there are legitimate reasons, right? And we do have some people, that contact us like from Africa, and it's like, hey, like, we don't have like credit cards. And it's like, okay, we can work something out with you if you pay annually, but not if you're not like paying annually. And I don't think we've ever come to an agreement with one of those companies. But whenever I get a message from someone that's like enraged that we would require a credit card, to me, it's just like, okay, cool. Well, there's clearly not a good like culture fit here. Like, because if you think that's the most frustrating thing that you're going to run into while running your maid service, you are very sadly mistaken, right? Like, if this is the sort of anger that we see here.
I like the idea that, whatever is the starting of the relationship, it can never, go any better. You know what I mean? Is like if someone comes and is already unhappy, it's just like there's no chance you're gonna transform that person into a very happy person anyway. So
I'll always patiently explain that, if someone's like respectful and is just like, hey, like, why do you require it? But then you do get people that send very aggressive messages about it, and it's like, right, you can go to my least favorite competitor, please go. Like, don't care, right? Or it's like sometimes I link them to like 4 of our other competitors, all of which require credit cards, just so that they email them as well. I won't recommend them any of like the ones that don't require credit card. Like,
yeah, it is definitely a funny thing. And now here's the thing that I personally don't like. So I don't mind if a software requires a credit card, to start with, because like I mentioned, it's about like, are you committed to really go forward?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's annoying because that person legitimately doesn't have the credit card of the company, for example, and he needs to go through purchasing power, orders and stuff like that. So that's annoying, and we lose some clients, I'm sure, because of that. But what I really don't like as a sort of like strategy and tactic is to enter the credit cards, and maybe that's what you're using. So maybe you will argue against, and I will argue for. But I don't like when people start charging automatically at the end of the trial. This is something I properly hate. Because I find that sneaky.
I mean, we have like internal like discussions on that and everything. And I think for everyone, that's just kind of what they think is best. We have a strict like refund policy like in place, not strict, a generous refund policy like in place that we completely understand that people.
So you do charge automatically at the end of the trial.
Well, we do, but I don't think for an instant that it's sneaky. We send reminder emails. We get people that are angry about it, and I'm just like, yo, that's not our fault. We reminded you, we notified you inside the software, like. There's only so much that we can like do here, but we're not going to ask for your permission again to start charging the card, because essentially from a sales perspective, you're asking them to make another buying decision, right? So it's very easy to look and just be like, okay, look, like you didn't log in after like your 3rd day of the trial. Clearly you weren't like using it, like here's a refund, no harm, like no harm, no foul. Right. And like at some point, maybe we'll build that in automatically. So if we see that they're not actively using the software, then we won't charge it. But yeah, I mean, like with that, I see where you're coming from, but it doesn't change the way that I'm going to like run the business.
No, for sure. I think yours is slightly different than mine in the sense that you actually do sign up directly with a plan. For us, it's a bit different.
That makes sense.
Especially for agencies, because agencies, they sign up. And then after that, they will pay per each account they create. So until they really create an account and then assign, or pay for this account, then there's no real way to sort of automatically, charge them anyway.
Gotcha.
But we do have a few people who are afraid of that when we ask for a credit card required, at the entrance.
Yeah, we always just tell them about our refund policy. We always just tell them that like, hey, like actually, arguably you get a 45-day trial on ZenMaid, because you can ask for a refund at any point before like your second payment, and no questions asked will refund it. So even if you're like charged and you don't mean to be, you can literally just take the next 30 days trial ZenMaid and contact us at any point, and you can essentially just get like an extended trial to figure out if it's for you. And it's like, if you don't believe us, that's fine. We don't particularly want to work with you. Like, we don't want to start
So
on that
sleek.
foot, right?
So sleek
Yeah.
it is, Samar.
You can tell I've dealt with this a lot. Like, you know that I've dealt with this a lot. But yeah, I don't know.
Hey, do you have unique usage of credit cards? Because that's one of the measure we put in place, so that if you come with the same credit cards, you can't open another account. You have, because
that's something that you definitely need for your company that
yes,
I don't need for mine.
yeah, okay.
I wouldn't do anything. I'd love for
for us, we definitely need that. I mean, like, so many abuse been prevented with that. I mean, like, what's the point? Like, you get a stolen credit card and then you open like 100 accounts, so it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Plus, for us, it's like a feature that people are not necessarily aware of is that they can have like one account with access to multiple accounts and being billed with the same credit card. So it's more convenient for them as well. It's easier for us to figure out if it's a real churn or not, because it's within the same account. So, so sometimes they're not aware of that. They go create another account, and then they say, hey, I can't create a new account because it's, and then we just explain them how it works. And then they're like super happy, like, oh, I can do that. That's cool. And
I love that. I love that.
It's a bit of an education.
That's awesome.
Here.
Nice.
But from time to time, we do need to have like two organizations, because it's the same organization, but they want to have like two separate accounts because they're two very separate entities in the same company, but they're using the same credit cards. So the amount of different flavor is very, it's astonishing.
Yeah. I think we're probably wrapping it up on this topic. I just wanted to touch quickly on like kind of freemium, or like, free trial, freemium, or like no trial at all. I just want to know, because I know you've got the auto warmer that you can talk about as like kind of like a free tool that leads people into the trial. But I was wondering, have you ever considered like a true freemium plan, or like not offering a trial?
So our industry is slightly different in a sense that we do need processing powers. Like, if you have an account that is active with us, then we need to pass all your inboxes all the time. And so doing a free premium will be very difficult for us, because that will require a lot of resources allocated to that. Does that make sense? I don't know yet. We'll probably need to think about it more deeply into really looking into the actual real cost of acquisition of those potential freemium plans. Right now, we're not going in that direction because of that. But this is an interesting question, is like, at what point would you actually require credit card at the end, directly on a freemium? I mean, for me, it's like as early as possible, right? When you have like a new people coming to your website. So even if we were doing freemium, you will have to enter your credit cards, I think.
Yeah, which is exactly what we do at ZenMaid. Because we have exactly that, where they sign up, and we do advertise quite aggressively the ZenMaid like free for life plan. And in order to get it, they have to sign up for a trial of the paid features, and they can downgrade to the free version if they want to at any point. And that rubs people the wrong way, because people think that the word free means that
you're so sneaky, Amar. You're just trying to rob everyone.
Yeah, I know. I get told that a lot, and I'm just like, yo, like, read every other comment on this thread. Like, you can see, anyways. But
I'll send you the definition of free, Amar. It means like you don't get any money.
Yeah, right. So yeah, I think that's interesting. I can definitely see where you're coming from with that it costs you guys, I think, more like money and stuff. Like, obviously our free plan costs us.
As a CRM, it's awesome. I think you should definitely have a freemium as a CRM. That makes sense. But for us, it's like dedicated resources to pass, your inbox and stuff. And, most people may say, it's nothing and so on. But there's a little bit of problems with some of those things. Like, some people don't even know they receive a lot of emails, because they have like some log notification from their server, whatever they put directly into a folder, and suddenly every time we pass, there's like hundreds of emails to pass every time. Those sort of things, they do cost in the end, they do add up basically, and so that slows down for everyone else. The other thing is, people also usually, when they have something free, they tend to not pay as much attention or care as much and then they have some more reckless behavior. And for cold email, this is really a problem as well.
Yeah.
So,
Well, so
yeah.
why is the parsing necessary? Have you thought about like what are the things that you're offering that do actually cost you to sort of do and maintain, and thought about what would it look like if we took that away and made that like the
Well,
free?
no, for the parsing, I was thinking like we could potentially offer a freemium, but you will need to sort of like continuously sort of like signal one way or another that you're still, involved in it, and still, instead of just like, setting it and forgetting, and then we keep on paying the cost. Because like I mentioned, AutoWarmer is, growing very strongly with our free accounts.
Yeah.
But it's still something we're offering for free, right? And we do pass the inbox when we're doing that. But at least there is an advantage in the whole community. In even if we allocate some resource to pass your inbox, that's for free, we still get to use your inbox in order to help other people also improve their, sender reputation. So it does help the community. It's a cost for us.
Yeah. So do you think that if you guys offered a free plan, as long as the folks that weren't actually using it, if you weren't paying to parse their inboxes, then it might be something that you would consider? Because I can tell you what ZenMaid does. It's like
potentially.
Yeah, because what we do, and this might actually work for quick mail, is what we do is we set it up so that if someone doesn't log into ZenMaid for 2 weeks, then their account is shut down, right? And we do that to make sure that free users are actually like using the plan, whereas for you, you'd be shutting it down for cost. But what that allows you to do is that allows you to essentially send them a couple of emails during that time, and you can have those emails on repeat of, hey, you need to log in the next week to QuickMail in order to keep your account active and to keep us parsing your inbox. Hey, you've got 24 hours to do this.
Sure. The other approach would be to simply, because we're doing most of the work with the AutoWarmer, so the other approach will be like you can have it for free as long as you stay on the AutoWarmer. Right.
Yeah.
So that will be another possibility, because sending the email is not that big a deal. We do have like the schedule and some stuff, but this is definitely a possibility. I've been sort of like exploring. I don't think we're quite ready at that stage to handle that one, but this is a possibility. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Anyway, that concludes like, should you use a credit card wall? The answer is almost always yes, unless you really need. Well, there is another thing as well, is if you need like, massive growth, like the type of, Facebook or other side of, actually some of my competitors are doing that. And so in this case, you would definitely remove any friction you can have, but you will have to deal with a lot of tire kickers. You will have to deal with a lot of abuses and figure out like, is it worth like that growth versus the resource I'm allocating to it?
Having a strong brand is also quite important, that if someone's listening to this and is like a year or two into like their bootstrapped SaaS journey, you probably want to go no credit card required unless you've already got a lot of traffic coming in. Like it's a lot easier to generate signups and then to turn on the credit card requirement when you know what that might do to your trial numbers versus like starting out. Like I don't think that if I was building something new today that I would start out with a credit card.
Same. You will learn so many things.
Yeah,
you will learn how your people are abusing your system too.
Exactly.
That's important as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Good
one.
All right. Thanks, Amar.
Thanks for joining us, guys. Hit us up on Twitter.